Total gentlemen. Niggas like me won't laugh. In a game full of passive ass kissers. Silhouette superstar glass slippers. Y'all niggas is queens.
Don't own the rights to that, of course. Man got a cold track. Looked him up. Oh, head. Anyway, how y'all doing out there? Like to welcome you all to another edition of No Fan Sports Podcast. Here, we're here live though on what is this, YouTube TV at No Fan TV. If you join us or you find it, you come across it, make sure you hit the like, share. Even if you don't like it, you can leave comments or what have you, and thumbs down, thumbs up, whatever. Acknowledge it. We here, we out here. Opinions is necessary. You don't necessarily have to agree. You don't have to necessarily agree. Oh, check this out, man. I want y'all to hear this. Check this out. Check this out.
You gotta identify with who you really are. Don't let nobody take you away from identifying with who you really are. Don't be no clown.
That's right. Live in the game, so I spice it up, nice it up. I broke the microphone, slice it up. I broke the jaw, ice it up, and stop crying. I threw the first punch, pussy, stop lying. Who are you? Really after midnight when the kids go to sleep and the wife is home, Louis rag around her head. You in the club hugging your buddy and you and him is
romance. Y'all had to hear that. Anyway, again, I'm your host, New. I go by New, man. Little nicknames given to me by a friend of mine, rest in peace, Don Q. One of them type of cats, man. Every time you seen him, had a smile on his face. Again, if you're joining us, man, hit the like and share buttons, please, or share, download, share with someone else or whatever. You're more than welcome to voice your opinion via comments too. That'd be great. That's what this is about. It's about conversation. The funny thing about this podcast thing, something I had wanted to do some years ago. Just took me a while to really get around to it, but not really. The chit chat, the sports. That's what we're here for. But at No Fan, we just have one request: that you leave your bromances and womances at the door. If you're coming in here with a love affair with an athlete or whoever your favorite athlete may be, you come in with a love affair. This is not the place for you. This not the place for you with the love affair, athlete love affairs. We here at No Fan, we want to talk. We want to have a nice sports dialogue. We want to have a nice sports dialogue, some intelligent dialogue, but we go shit talk too, just the same. But let's make it make sense. So if you're in love with somebody, if you got that athlete, them Bryanies, them Brady's or whatever, this might not be the place for you. You're more than welcome to come in, share your thoughts or what have you. But you might not like what the response that you may get from myself or anybody else that's affiliated with No Fan, or just callers or whoever might have to stop by. I know it's football Sunday, and I kind of brushed away from it. I kind of got some stale games on there. This COVID is not helping the situation at all either. A few teams, missing some players and different things like that. But last night we had a big fight, man. That's what this podcast is all about. Last night we had a big fight. We had Errol Spence Jr., Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence Jr. For belts, for Errol's belts. It's fun, Danny himself is the two-time champ, and they were supposed to have gotten down, I think earlier this year, like in January or something like that. But we all know Errol had that he had that car accident, and Danny killed himself, and they had to delay the fight. So, a lot of the speculation was when nobody know if he's going to be able to come back. Even if he came back, what type of fighter was he going to be? Was he going to still be himself? This, that, and the other thing. And, guess he sat out there. He made all the dedications and different things like that, trained real hard, and he got ready. Some people were suggesting they should have taken a tune-up fight before facing Garcia. So, apparently he didn't feel like it was necessary. This is not to make light of Danny Garcia, because I think he was a respectable champion. He was a respectable fighter. But You know, he danced his way into the ring, asked for that fight after Spence had beaten Porter, and he got his wishes. And here's my thing. This is why I'm doing this recap today. You know, you can catch me at I Don't Speak Fan Slappy or Groupie via Facebook also, and All We Talk is Sports. And I hang out sometime with them fellas over there, Split Decision Boxing. These are, you know, FB networks. Make sure, you know, I'll post up, I'll put it in the comments, all my DMs and different things like that. You can follow us via YouTube and naturally at No Fan TV, Facebook, IG, you know, all that stuff, Twitter, all that stuff. You know, we put the links out there. Make sure you hit them, check them out, follow. You know, we talking over here. We like to talk. And No Fan, we like to talk about them X's and O's. We talk X's and O's. Pretty much conversations, black and white, maybe just a shade of gray. But we like to talk X's and O's. Many a times, often talk about. I like to talk about the things that you can't put on the stat sheet. Those things that maybe the just the common eye may not catch. I like to consider myself, I think I have like a sixth sense myself. That's what I call it. I think I have a sixth sense, you know, book the numbers like West Indian Archie, you know, no pen, no paper. But you have to watch things, detailed things. So when if you're not one of the most gifted athletes in whatever sport that you may partake in, you got those guys out there that's, you know, got some naturally gifted guys that's missing a lot of fundamentals. Then you have those guys that's gifted, but they just really strong fundamentally, nothing really flashy about them or brash or, you know, like they super speedy or whatever. just a hard working guy, you know, and oftentimes those type of people are kind of overlooked somewhat. And this is the case. That's what I think we see when we look into Errol Spence, you know, the difference between him and maybe some past champions or current champions or different things like that. Errol is not really a flashy type of fighter. He's just a business dude. And, you know, to me, I recognize it with the, you know, you can look at his face, you know, he just facial expressions rarely change, you know, just about business, you know, which is nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm here. Most time when people hear this conversation, they automatically just tie this right in there with the like hate, you know, because everybody really waiting for the Bud, what is it? What's his name? Crawford, Spence fight. There's been a lot of people talking and assuming or claiming that, you know, Spence is dodging him. Or don't nobody want to see him. Everybody's scared of him. He's so smart in the ring, and let me say this: I'm not a Crawford hater. I think he's an excellent fighter. He's just not beating Errol Spence. That's just the way I feel about it. And I say this because most of the chatter, even I think from Crawford himself, I was checking out a few podcasts earlier today, and he said he was bored. He wasn't impressed with the outcome of the fight. And I'm like, you know, you talking, trying to drum up a fight, whatever, anyway it go. At the end of the day, we all know Errol Spence is not scared of, you know, Crawford. That's not the problem. Currently, they fight on two different sides of the streets. There's a lot of business, back end stuff that needs to be done as far as them getting together. And then right now, I'm not exactly sure. I've been getting bits and pieces of it, but I think Bud and Aaron are having some problems over there in the top rank camp. You know, they having problems over there at top rank. So we're not even sure where he go be in the near future. So all that stuff is up in the air. Then you got a Pacquiao fight that's kind of dangling out there, you know, for him to face or whatever the case may be. But you know what happened last night? In my humble opinion, with the victory, the victory last night, that kind of it cemented his seat in the driver's seat. As far as that welterweight division is concerned, it also kind of like it put Crawford in an even in a worse position, in my opinion, because After the fight, Errol spoke on, maybe getting another fight in another 6 months, somewhere. I think he said June or something like that, or whatever it was. But chances are that might be the Pacquiao fight. So let's say that is the Pacquiao fight. So we're looking at now, more than likely, depending on the outcome. Say Errol was to meet up with Pacquiao like Earl, like 4th, 5th, between the 4th and 6th month of next year. Say he does win or whatever. Now we're talking about either this time next year for a possible Crawford fight, he and Crawford, or it could be up into 2022. Errol's in the driver's seat. When we start talking about athletes' money and careers and retirement, both of those guys in the early 30s. Athletes' careers are short. You need to obtain as much financial security as you can. There's some big fights out there for Errol in his own camp over at PBC. There's some big fights out there. There's still some big fights over there. I hate to say this guy's name, but he can throw Keith Thurman in there to get him a pity play. And that still bring a couple dollars. There's some fights over there. Okay. So from what I understand, my man Crawford wasn't impressed with the performance. Let me just put it like this. Like I stated earlier, he's not a flashy guy or anything like that. He just take care of business. No nonsense, just go in there and take care of business. What you watched last night, to me, it was incredible because he sat right in the pocket against a known counterpuncher who's deadly, got dynamite in both hands, left or the right. He catch you with a hook, left or right. Most of the cats he didn't came across, they laid down. So he sat in the pocket pretty much the entire evening, walking down a guy who had dynamite in both hands and who's one of the best counterpunchers in the game. Dominating. Earlier, yesterday, I predicted, I thought he would stop him. I thought Spence would stop Garcia in the 11th. Late rounds, I knew it was going to go late, but I figured he'd stop him in the 11th because Danny is going to take a minute, maybe if he had, hadn't taken his foot off the gas about two of those, I think it was 8th and 9th, pressed him a little bit more, maybe he could have went ahead and, put him out of there in the 11th. But at the end of the day, what Errol showed you was he a complete boxer. He can do whatever it is that he wanted. He sat there and he did what he did. Garcia has never looked that bad against any of his opponents. Did y'all look at his face after the fight? Okay, he's never looked that bad. So what we have now, we have Spence that's just piling up. He keeps stacking up. His resume is humongous. He keeps stacking these things up on the resume. And it seemed like from listening to and reading the trends and listening to a lot of people, and you hear the hate, it's like that's, like those nobodies, but these people are champions or hell belts. We got Port on the list, Garcia on the list, Mikey Garcia, even though he came up in weight, but everybody sweat Mikey was pound for pound. Totally dominating. So Garcia, was it Chapo, whatever his name was, he just totally dominated these guys. These are, big name fighters, okay? Guys holding big belts and doing big things. So what I seen was a lot of early body work, man, and Garcia just wasn't used to all that. I don't think he expected Spence to sit in his face or sit in his pocket like that. But everybody know, if you got any good sense, that's what happens when you do stuff live. If you have any good sense, most people not sitting in the pocket against a known counterpunch with dynamite. We go box a little bit more. We do a lot more moving. Errol controlled the ring. He controlled the whole fight for the most part. 2 rounds he may have taken off, and that was only because the 2 rounds or the 4 rounds that they had him losing. I only really I gave Garcia maybe two, maybe 3 rounds, but those was only because of those rounds, where, at that particular time, his father had told him he should have known anyway. He had to start pressing, had to be more aggressive. But in the same token, That's one of Danny Garcia's problems. You know, it's not that he is slow starter. He a counterpuncher. A counterpuncher, you waiting. I mean, you waiting for somebody to do something instead of pressing action. And he don't know. He has a problem. I don't know. That's just maybe his game plan. That's why how he became, you know, so successful. You know, countering everybody. Nobody really making him, you know, take a test, take a long test. You know, so when you just build your career up on counterpunching, you're not really pressing the gas on nobody, and you go up against the likes of Errol Spence. You can't sit back in the pocket against Errol Spence. Can't sit back in the pocket against Crawford. These guys gonna make you work. Just like Crawford made Kell Brook work after he switched up to his orthodox, switched up to a southpaw stance. Which, like I said, while I got y'all live right now, I challenge anybody, please send me a video feed. You can put it in the comments, shoot it in my inbox, shoot it email at idontspeakfangroupieslappy at gmail.com. I would love to see a Terrence Crawford fight, even if it was an amateur or pre-amateur fight of him in his orthodox stance and winning the fight, or just being real dominant in the fight. Because for me, you know, I hear a lot of this, you know, he's so smart, he's smart. You know, you're getting people like, oh, well, he ain't go. Spence can't beat Errol looking like, can't beat Crawford looking like that. I'm like, looking like what? This guy fought Garcia, he fought Porter, two of the biggest in the game in that division, who my man Crawford ain't even came across yet. His welterweight resume is not that impressive. Everybody giving him this pound for pound, to me, the best in the welters. He didn't. His welterweight resume is not that well. He coming up. Okay. For him to even to think that you can just jump over, like for me, I've been calling for. I would love to see Porter and Crawford fight. Now, I read some things back, you know, some months ago, maybe a year or so ago, that they had some type of friendship and they wouldn't go fight one another or something like that. But then of late, I've been hearing some chatter about, you know, Sean Porter been, you know, putting it out there. I don't know if these things are true, but I would like to see them two fight. At this particular stage in the game, though, as far as Crawford is concerned, though, you know, some of these guys you got to go see. You can't, if you go see a couple of them guys, grab a couple dollars, but if you don't go see them, and then say you and Errol fight, and then say you beat Errol, you still only, that's just that one fight. You ain't gonna have no money. On the business end of it, you know, the way I look at it. But at the end of the day, this is my problem with this. This is my biggest problem with this. Crawford looks good when he fights and switches in the southpaw. Something Kell Brook, obviously, you know, he just didn't make that adjustment prior to that. Because up until that switch over, I, for one, had Brook winning the fight. He had 3 rounds to none. That jab was touching Crawford. Crawford gets touched a lot too. He gets touched a lot too. And that's one of my biggest problems with when they be making this distinction and talk about how masterful he is and you know, ring generalship and all this. You know, back in the day, man, you talking about your pound for pounds, man. I don't remember them being touched like that. I don't remember when Floyd was in his heyday and they was calling him pound for pound. I don't remember him being touched like that. You know, Roy Jones, when he was in his heyday, I don't remember them being touched like that in their heyday when they was considered pound for pound. Just didn't get touched like that. And Crawford, to me, gets touched. Some folks touch him. When he gets touched, you can tell he's switching to southpaw. And then, you know, it's like he got a little attitude. Most people think that's like his, you know, he's studying you, trying to figure you out or whatever. But, you know, just like most situations, man, you know, pressure bust pipes. So you put a little gas and start pressing somebody, make it a little awkward for them, and it's their job to adjust. Kell Brook didn't adjust. You go back and think it before I even make this comment, man. Let me do some housekeeping. Real quick. No Fan Sports Podcast is providing this podcast as a public service, but it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of No Fan Sports Podcast policy. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by No Fan Sports Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Views and opinions expressed by myself are those of my own and do not necessarily reflect the view of No Fan Sports Podcast or any others official. And also, let me do this fair use because I'm going to do this fair use because I'm about to mention this article too. Fair use copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is used permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Now, with that said, yeah, it was an interesting article before the Brooke Crawford fight where Brooke spoke on his injury, the original injury that he suffered when he fought Triple G. He cracked his eye socket. In that article, it's in the Guardian. It was the Guardian. Pull it up in the Guardian. Kell Brooke. Let me see. I might be able to find it too. But anyway, in the article, he goes on to explain and talk about how excruciating or how that the sound. How difficult it was for him to how that sound affected him when he heard his eye socket being broke. The Guardian, Donald McRae, wonderful article. This is Kell Brooke Crawford. So he talks about that, and he talks about the stress or whatever trying to come back after that. Then he going to another buzzsaw. He runs into Spence. Lo and behold, same thing, same situation. Crack that socket. Bro, surgery again. So if you read the article and you listen to his conversation about, or you talk to him, and he discusses how that affected him when he broke the socket the first time. So Spence broke it. So now we move us up. Fast forward, we go to the Crawford Brooke fight. Now, when the punch landed initially, I seen the punch. I thought it was a quick check hook. Some thought it was a straight jab to the, whatever. Slow motion, the punch looked like a combination of a couple things or whatever. But nevertheless, if you pay attention to where it landed on that socket, that same socket, that gruesome socket where, he had such a problem with. Like I said, go check that article out at the Guardian. So we almost thought, I don't think it was broken this time, but we talking about a third time as a charm, man. Same location. That's not taking anything away from Crawford because he did what he did. He switched up, changed his style up, and Kell didn't adjust quick enough. Okay. And I ain't gonna say he gave up, but I've listened to a few things. Matter of fact, I listened to Sean Porter. He and some of his guests on his podcast had a discussion. He felt like Brooke kind of gave up in so many words. Check it out. Check his podcast. I kind of feel like, I ain't saying necessarily he gave up, but or he just a totally broken man or anything like that. But at the end of the day, we still talking about a broken man somewhat. But again, Terrence handled his business. Okay. So now I'm fast track. We put Kell Brooke on there. I'll give you that. That's a nice piece to add to your resume. But why you just added Kell Brooke, it took you that long to put a Brooke on your resume. My man Spence then added another giant on his resume. So this fight could take place, it's possible the fight may even take place until 2022. In my eyes, we'd be lucky to see it in 2021. Okay. I really don't see what it is that everyone is talking about. What makes him so much smarter in the ring with Crawford. His best work I've seen out of him has been in his southpaw stance. He'll be going against a natural southpaw, and Errol Spence. Errol kind of show you that he can pretty much do whatever it is that you want to bring to him. I really don't think you go out banging. I can't see you out banging him because he's a body guy. That's what he like to do. He bang. He just sit in the pocket he sat in the pocket with Porter. And I think Porter is one of the toughest guys in that division. You know, he the boogeyman out there. If anybody don't want to see nobody want to mess with Porter on their way trying to get to the top. You know, go fight Porter. For real. This dude, no matter, he's not one of them fighters that, like, you know, even if he have a bad day, it really don't look like he have a bad day because he go give 110%. So you ain't even gonna really notice it. He go give you that work the whole time. So that's a measuring stick. Don't nobody want to see him. And like I said again earlier, you know, I suggested. I think he and Crawford need to meet up, man. That'll make good. And Crawford say Crawford knock Porter out or take him out a lot sooner than Spence did. Man, can you imagine the money we talking about? People be willing to pay to see them two fight. But you know, you slow dragging. You know, in my words, but everybody swear up and down that, you know, Spence and whoever else over there scared to fight Crawford. That's not the case. That's what these people do for a living. You know, hey, Keith Thurman out there begging for fights right now. That would be a nice fight. We're not seeing that either. You know, so it's some stuff out there. But in my eyes, he's more like I don't want to say a one-trick pony, but that's why I asked anybody. I know some more boxing aficionados out there. Some people is a lot more versed in the subject than I am. But I'm just requesting to see. Like I said, I like to see it even if it's an amateur tape. I just like to see some productivity out of his orthodox stance, because the light only turn on when he's switching to southpaw. And you're going up against a natural southpaw. I don't see any advantages in that. Both of you guys are just true warriors. Both of you guys are craftsmen. So, you know, should make for a good fight. You know, let's go make for a good fight. Both of you guys, more than likely, I see that being done in the middle of the ring. May even be on a level of not really that high, but almost something like Hagler Hearns. Three of the most beautifulest rounds in boxing history. Maybe that may happen. I doubt it, but I'm just saying that, you know, this is where we at with that. But I don't see that, you know. I just don't see where the blurring difference, where they feel that this guy's easy work for him. The arrow will be easy work. Arrow will be easy work for Crawford. I just don't see that. Okay, so to my fellows over there, split decision, you know, I'm gonna come over there and holler at y'all too, man. Cause I see look like we kind of biased over there. I ain't been seeing a lot of that any Spence chatter over there. You know, it's awful quiet over on the network. We gonna come over there and talk to you all too. Matter of fact, I'm gonna send this over there, because at the end of the day, man, it's business involved. There's business involved with this as well. This is somewhat similar to back in the day when I felt that Sugar Ray Leonard was running from Tommy Hearns. But all the time while I was saying that, and all the time, you know, Tommy was trying to get that fight, he was just knocking them down, lining them up, knock them down. Wilfred Benitez, Duran, you know, come on. He was just knocking them down, you know, and then they finally met up. And he actually was winning the first fight up until Sugar dug deep, man. Sugar dug deep, knocked my boy out the ring. You know, and I still give Sugar Ray Leonard all the dedication and props in the world for that, man. That's some manhood right there, dude. Because he was a beaten man. Matter of fact, he's so beaten of a man right now, he still have problems with that particular eye that was closed, that they should have stopped the fight well before it got to the point where he knocked my man's out. But he was Sugar Ray, and you know how that worked back in the day. Yeah. But, you know, they did it again. I think they did it again in '84 or something like that, man. And it ended up calling it a draw. But Sugar Ray Leonard, you know, in talking, I've heard him in, you know, have interviewed. He said, yeah, Tommy really won that second fight. You know, I give him his credit. You know, they put on some classic shows, man. They put on a classic show. So, and they finally met up, man. You know, you got to remember, you know, as a fan, yeah, we want to see this, but you know, that's a livelihood for some of them guys. You know, be more respectful of them, let them get their bread. There's some bread out there to be made. We go see the fight. It's gonna happen. The two warriors, they really do want to get at each other, but I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm gonna get all the money I can. in the process. Because what really just happened last night with Danny Garcia, whether any of his fans or the boxing public really want to look at it or care to think about it, his old man just, well, actually, in so many ways, man, my man, Spence could have just basically just made him into a journeyman. He a low tier stepping stone now. 3 championship fights, 3 L's, albeit the first 2 were close between he and Thurman, and he and Porter. Those both were close. But he on 3 in some big fights, man. This put him at like second tier level as far as that division goes. Tough fight. He a strong journeyman now. That's another fighter that Garcia or Crawford. I've been hearing people in some of the chat and some of the groups, man, talking about, well, he knocked Garcia out, man. Garcia ain't never been knocked out. Matter of fact, this is the worst Garcia's ever looked, no matter who he's fought. And the guy was a 2-time champion, so we're not gonna just write that off like that. So, excuse me. So, it's a fight out there for him. Garcia Crawford would be interesting. I'm sure Garcia will be willing to do it because his career is in the crapper now. He hit that dilemma. He hit that situation right now, man. Maybe too old to lose weight. Can always gain it, but he in the crossroads in his career. Errol just put him in the crossroads. Who had that song? Meet you at the crossroads. Bone Thug, yeah, Bone Thug. Errol just put him in the crossroads. Just almost basically ended that man's career. Who we go talk to in that division? You lost to Porter, lost to Spence. They in your backyard. Lost to Thurman. Who you go talk to? So he just retired, pretty much retired Danny. But we're not giving this dude no props. We're talking about a championship Danny Garcia with dynamite in both hands and had only 2 losses up until that point. Oh, come on. We can't write Danny off like he was garbage now. Nobody was impressed. That's why I said you leave your pro masters and woe masters at the door. My name is Nuke. That's what we do with No Fan. We like to talk sports, man. Just straight X's and O's, black and white, just a shade of gray. And that's why we developed this, man. We developed this to have a real conversation. So if you got those bud heads and those strong fans, man, you come over. I don't mind. Leave a comment in the chat. Share. Let somebody else see it. We talk about it. Leave a comment in the chat, man. We can talk about it. I have no problems. You can also follow this podcast. It'll be on audio on Anchor. It's a link on there. I'm gonna put the link. I'll put the link in here as well, where you can text message, leave a voice message, and we can have that conversation. We had that conversation. We had that discussion on our next podcast. I give you a link where you link up. Once I go live, you go live with me. We can talk. We're more than happy to kick it with you. I'm just curious. Like I said, this. I see what y'all saying. I think Crawford is an excellent fighter. I just don't see him just walking through Errol Spence like everybody assuming. Thinking this. I really don't understand what the logic is behind that. I really don't. Somebody got to clue me in on it. And speaking of which, last night fight, man, and talking about Tommy Hearns, that young man, that 6'6" guy, was his name. I forget his first name. I think it was Fedora. His last name, the 6'6" guy. Prior to they actually getting in the ring, I was watching. I think he was fighting that one African gentleman. I wasn't sure who Fedora was, but I noticed the smaller fighter was pressing him. You're looking at this guy. He's tall, look pretty stringy. You usually don't see tall guys like that in that particular weight class, especially. They put a post up there. They showed most of the guys that stand at that height. They come in as heavyweights. So we're talking about a 6'6" guy fighting He was fighting at 153. Was that super welter or super middle or whatever that is? Fighting at 154 or whatever. And young man has some, halfway decent speed on his hands. Wasn't super quick, but it's pretty quick. And looked pretty sharp, and then like I said, the earlier clip, he was taking count, like, okay, he took everything my man brought to him. After he took him, he came back and cleaned my man's clock. So I watched him last night, man, and the gentleman that he fought, forget his name, but he was having problems finding that uppercut, man. He couldn't figure out where that uppercut was coming from. And I can understand why. I mean, it's coming from a 6'6" guy. So we're talking about a reach that at your height, normally in your weight class, you just not gonna see nothing like that. That's a lot of, so now we gotta get them calculations in our head. That's why they call this the sweet science as well. That's why they call this the sweet science. It's not just boxing. It's not just knockout to this day. It's not just knockout. It's called boxing. They label it as a sweet science for a reason. Because after you get to a certain point where you may not be able to knock somebody out, but you got to figure out a way to win or outclass them or outpoint them. Or you got to figure out what it is that person is doing to you that you can't get around. And my man uppercut, this dude couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And each time he shot it, man, he was dead on. Well, like I said, again, you got a longer arm coming at you with nice little, velocity. And then the angle it's coming from is totally different. It's down and up. I mean, it was just weird. And my man couldn't get it together. It was almost as if the way the uppercut was coming, even though he was guarding, well, he'd have had to do the forming guard to more so block him uppercut. But he had the tight guard. And in most cases, you're not getting the uppercut, but man, the whole arm is coming up through there. So what I would like to see out of that young man, I would love that Fedora. I would love to see him get in touch with them boys over there at Kronk. See to catch up with is Emmanuel's nephew who over there at Kronk. Man, I would love to see him get over there and see if somebody can work with him, see if he can catch up with Hearns, man, and show him how to do that overhand right, coming from his, what it was. Because he kind of reminded me of Tommy a little bit, with the height. Tommy tall, he was a tall welterweight, and this guy looked like he got that wiry, strong power, man. He got some little legs, but the dude, he like that. It's a wiry strength. And I would love to see somebody develop a strong, that strong overhand right. Tommy used to sit out there on folks, So I'm not sure. I'm just I ain't necessarily name dropping nothing like that, but I would love to see him get over there and be somebody that can show him how to do that. He get that overhand right, and I understand he's in Jermell Charlo's division. Is that Jermell Charlo that fights that weight? Yeah. Jermell, I heard they had, little talking session. My man is only 16 fights in. I really wouldn't throw him in there right now against Jermell. I would prefer to see him take probably another 4, maybe 5 fights, getting, above 20 dubs. I don't know if that's enough time or Charlo will be around during that particular time. But he's in what they call it, anomaly or whatever it is. So he may be able to jump in there, maybe about another 2 fights at 18. Maybe if he's in there 18-0 and the next 2 are kind of decisive, might try to run him in there. But be perfectly honest with you, I really don't like seeing fighters against, some real dogs or warriors in the early 20th victories and amongst the pro ranks. But then again, some folks are different. But in the same token, if I was with Charlo, I wouldn't be in a rush to see the young man either, because at the end of the day, like they discussed before that fight, you got to find some sparring partners. You got to find partners so you can get used to those angles, where they're coming from. At this stage of the game, probably even if you couldn't find a sparring partner, because that's kind of weird. Somebody that tall and they shooting punches like that at such a light division at such height. So in order to fight him right now, what I'm thinking in my head, man, you would literally have to go on what's that TV show that used to measure athletes, measurements, logistics, and all that kind of stuff. You had to go sports science and had them build that fighter up in the computer, and maybe you have a simulated fighter where you can see them angles and count the distance and get the timing and stuff, right? Because he's just a weird guy, man. He's just a real weird guy. So I wouldn't rush into that anyway. I don't care how much you think if you think you will win, which you think, I'm sure you do. But at the end of the day, I was trying to keep this short, man. Like I said, I got Errol Spence. If he and Crawford ever come across one another, I got Spence in that. Again, I think everybody just I'm not sure what the problem is, man. This dude just showed me give you every fighting style that you want. Just great in his fundamentals, man. Easy work type of guy. Never too excited about anything. He just go out there and do what he do, man. Congratulations to Errol Spence coming off a real bad car accident and then walking to a two-time champion and dominate like that, and coming off a strong fight against Sean Porter, which many thought could have been a draw. We talking about a tough ass Sean Porter, one of the toughest in that division, the boogeyman that a lot of people really don't want to see. Nah, man, y'all better give that man his respect, man. Y'all better give that man his respect. He the real deal. Again, I'm your host, man. I go by New. Like to thank you all for joining us here at No Fan TV, man. Subscribe, hit the like bell, hit the ring bell when we go live. Share this with your friends, share it in your groups, man. This is what we want to do. Like I said, the audio version will be on Anchor. With Anchor, I'll show you a link, man. You can hit this link. You can leave a voice message, express your opinion or comments, and then we'll respond and kick it on the next podcast that we do. Okay? I'm your host, New. Appreciate you stopping by. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.
Total temperament. Niggas like me won't last in a game full of passive ass, just silhouette superstars.